What's up, guys? It's Mickey from Modern C10. This is my oldest son, Xander. He's 11 years old, and we got a story for you. So whenever I was probably somewhere around his age, whoa, what's so funny? All right, quit thinking about that. When I was somewhere around his age, me and my dad would be hanging out in the garage, and I'm getting in his way, and he would tell me stories of his 67 Camaro. And it was his first car, and he used to do a lot of street racing and stuff with it. And, you know, life happened, he had kids and stuff, ended up having to get rid of the car. And I didn't really care much when I was Xander's age, you know. But then I got into art and stuff, and started just drawing cars and car parts and stuff like that. And then whenever I was around 13 or so, I started getting into watching a lot of car movies with my dad. And we watched this movie, Tough Turf. And it had Robert Downey Jr. in it, and he stole one of the school bullies' cars and was out joyriding. It was a 68 Camaro. And I watched that movie over and over and over and over, probably 30 times, just because that Camaro was so badass. I just love that scene where he's just out hot rodding that thing. And so I really got to the point where, like, that's going to be my first car. Like, that's what I want, right? And my dad loved that idea because his first car was a 67 Camaro, and he wanted to kind of relive that era of his life. So building a car with me was huge for him, right? Because my dad was a racer, and that's what he was all about. But anyways, so it became my dream car, you know, and I started, you know, staying up at night, just drawing pictures of it and stuff, what it's going to look like and all this stuff. And my dad started looking for me a car, and he found a lot of 69s, a lot of 68s, and I wanted a 67. You know, one, I like the way they look better, you know, not having the marker lights and stuff on the sides. And, you know, I don't like the rectangle marker lights on the grill of a 68. I like the way the 67 looks better. So we were looking for that. We found a lot of 68s and 69s, and I just wasn't interested really. So whenever I was 14, my dad found one. It actually came through his car auction. He was a manager of a car auction here in Oklahoma City, and it came through the car auction. And I'll never forget, he had been saving his money for down payment on a truck, and he had been saving every penny he had. And then the Camaro comes up, and he's like, man, he wants to buy this car for me, but all the money he had saved was for his down payment on his truck. So he ended up splitting his down payment. He spent half of it on my Camaro and half of it on his truck. So anyways, when I was 14, for Christmas, I got my 67 Camaro. It was the one that he found at the auction, and it was pretty mint. Like, the paint on it was nice, the bodywork was nice. It was basically like somebody started restoring his car, and I don't know, maybe they used it for collateral on a loan or something, and I don't know. It ended up at this auction, but it was like way too nice to be an auction car. So he ended up getting it for dirt cheap, like less than $1,000. So now the car was probably worth like $12,000, $14,000 back then, but he only gave like $900 for it. So anyways, I got it for my birthday and started trying to, I got it for Christmas, and started trying to fix it all up. And of course, I'd be bragging to my buddies about it and everything, and they didn't believe it was my car. Like, oh, that's got to be his dad's car. He's not 14 and got a car, you know. And so anyways, I went through that whole deal. Wasn't my car, and got called a liar and all that stuff through school. But my artwork and my Camaro kind of went hand in hand. Like, I probably drew the car 3,000 times. I mean, just different ways, different angles, and kind of formed my identity as I was younger, being, you know, an artist and a car, you know, like car designer, you know, or whatever, car builder. That's how I started doing it, was through the Camaro. And when I turned 16, when I turned 15, my dad had blew up the engine in his race car and was having Gerald Brand build him a new one. And he told me, he was like, if you can fix that, then you can have it for the Camaro. I was like, oh, sweet, you know. So ended up rebuilding the engine, fixed it all, put it in the Camaro, and finally got to drive to school whenever I was 16. And of course, first day of school, I was street racing a guy named Keith Burrell, and I did win, by the way. So anyways, I had a lot of good times in that car. Just speed up the story, got in a lot of trouble and did a lot of things with it. But once I got into my early 20s, I started trying to get my own business going, building race cars, and I didn't really have a race car. So I decided to get to the level I wanted to be at, building full tube chassis and all that stuff, I was gonna have to basically build my own car. So Camaro is what I had, And so even though I didn't want it to be a race car, it's kind of what I had to do. So I ended up tearing the car down, and I'm gonna build a race car out of it to really show what I can do, you know, and get better clientele. Well, I ended up cutting all the floor pans and stuff out, and I'm gonna build a full tube chassis for it. And a buddy of mine was like, hey Mick, I got a guy that can blast that car and get it all brand new bare metal for you, so you're really starting with a brand new body, and this thing will be perfect, and you can just rebuild the whole car and it'd be super nice. And I was like, all right. So we ended up taking the car over to get it media blasted, and this guy did not know what the hell he was doing. He completely destroyed the car. And this was back in, let's see, 2007. So this is my license plate from back then, obviously. But anyway, so that was back in 2007, and the guy pretty much destroyed my car. So we took it back to the shop, and all the quarter panels were just completely destroyed and folded up, and he just didn't know what he was doing. So we ended up cutting all that stuff off. I bought new quarter panels and stuff, and just didn't really have a lot of motivation to fix it at the time. I was kind of heartbroken and stuff. So it just kind of sat in the corner of the shop, and you know, just become something for people to talk crap on me about, you know, like, when are you going to put the Camaro back together and all that crap. I heard it for years and years and years. And anyways, so fast forward, I ended up building a Nova for some small tire stuff. And I ended up building a C10 pickup, you know. Ended up doing all these other projects, and here it is. I think it's time for the Camaro to make a comeback. So my dad gave me the car, and I'm giving it to my oldest son. And so this will be third generation 67 Camaro right here. Now, this was not my dad's original car, but his first car was a 67 Camaro. He grew up, you know, tearing up the streets with it, and then we got me a Camaro. I did the same thing, and fortunately, I still have most of the car, what didn't get destroyed, and so I'm passing that on to my son Xander, and we're gonna build this car together, and it's gonna be badass, dude. It's gonna be sick. So I've got to where I'm building some real high-end stuff, and I could see this being a $300,000, $400,000 car when we're done. So yeah, he's young, and we're starting young, but it's because, you know, we can't build a $400,000 car in a year. So we're going to start now. Hopefully when he's 16, 17 years old, we'll have it done. We'll be able to go drive it and, you know, do some cool stuff with it. But anyways, we get the car down out of storage, and man, there's just not a lot salvageable there. After all the years of setting and rust and rot, and there just wasn't a lot left. So we started to cut into it and start trying to fix some stuff. And we just realized, hey, you know what? If I was the customer right now in my shop, I would tell them to get another body. Like, you just need to go have a brand new body built. You're going to have too much time and money and effort into this deal to start with that. So anyways, we started looking around to try to have another body built. And we contacted a few different places and didn't like what we were hearing. We ended up getting a hold of Crispin Metalworks out of Houston, Texas. He builds a ton of these Camaro bodies, and he come highly recommended. So, you know, we were looking at weighing our odds. Should we go and start trying to change out all these panels, or should we have somebody that has a jig specifically for Camaros that just builds those and can get it perfect, and we can start focusing on other stuff, you know, gathering up parts and stuff like that. So we decided that's what we're going to do. So we get a hold of Crispin, and he can't get all the parts. Like, they're just not available. So we came up and said, get us a list of what you can get, and we'll try to source the rest of it. So he gets us a list, and we go looking at the Camaro, and we're like, well, heck, we got that, we got that, we got that, we got that. And
it's like the only few parts that were like perfect on
yeah,
car.
Yeah, pretty much. It's the only parts that were flawless. So we're like, man, we can take a portion of our car and just have him basically restore the body, rebuild the body, and we'll use what we have plus that, and we're going to end up with pretty much a brand new body besides some key parts that came from the original one. So it ended up working out, but bad news was we was going to have to cut up the rest of the original Camaro. But it's like, man, you know what? It's for the best, you know, because we're going to start with something brand new. So anyways, that's the big news in the shop. We got the Camaro back from Crispin. We got a fresh start, and I'm handing it off to my son, and we're going to build this thing, and it's going to be killer. So
And pretty much, if we would have put all new panels and stuff, it would have been not the same either way. So.
yeah, I mean, we would have ended up in the same spot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So doing it this way, really, we just assured that the body is going to be pretty much perfect because it was built on a fixture specifically for Camaros rather than us hanging it here and, you know, trying to do it that way. Who knows what it would have snowballed into. It probably would have snowballed into a whole new body anyways, you know. So we just made the call early and said, we'll cut what we need to cut, send it to him. He can make this thing a brand new body. So anyways, that's the big news. Behind me is the new body. We just got it back from Chrisman, and the Cargasm is getting retired, and I'm handing it off to my son. Yeah, and he's gonna name it what he wants to name it. So he's got some ideas already. What are you thinking?
I remember we thought about drama.
Yeah.
And a few others.
Yeah, we're thinking about drama because this car was a lot of drama whenever I was younger. So, and then it's kind of just turned into more drama over the years of just sitting back in the corner of my shop and all the haters wanting to talk trash on when am I going to get it done, and you know, and then so the car's definitely got some stories and it's got plenty of drama, including recently it's been in the drama. So that's an idea. We thought about drama. We could actually fit that on license plate, so we can do FNDRAMA. So we might do that on the license plate. But that right there was probably the last time I drove it, and it was probably me and your mom on a date. So that's it. So anyways, I'm gonna grab the camera and we'll go over some stuff on the car, what we're gonna do with it. So, all right. Xander, why don't you tell us about the power plant, bro? All right, there's the old Camaro motor sitting on a pallet. Why don't you tell us about it?
This is a 6.2 LT1 motor with the new Holley accessory drive murdered out all black. We have the Camaro intake on the top. We're probably going to change that. We're going to put new camshaft in it and new heads.
We're going to put new heads on it, or maybe port the heads. Yeah. We don't know yet. We're talking with Texas Speed right now about either porting these heads and doing the cam stuff, you know, and maybe some upgrades, the rocker upgrades, you know, with the trunnions and all that stuff, or possibly doing like an LTX head. So we'll just see. Of course you think we should do that. But basically we're going to set up where we can add a supercharger later. It's got 8-speed automatic, and we're going to do it all up where it's really driver friendly. So that's what's going on with the engine. We're going to do the big camshaft, all that stuff, make it sound nasty. Look at that bad boy. Anyways, we're going to go with a 345 3019 tire. Going to do a 19 by 12 inch wheel on there. Old Joe at St. Paul Speed's going to set us up with some wheels. We're going to do a full tube chassis on this thing. Guys, full tube chassis. I looked at doing like a bolt-on front end and, you know, like all the bolt-in rear, and I just didn't want to do it. I'm a chassis builder, and I want to build the chassis for it. So I want to teach my son how to build and engineer chassis. So that's what we're going to do. And so I actually had Crispin build the car without the floor pans in it, because it's not going to matter anyways. We're going to end up putting that LT motor in here. We're going to have that big transmission. We're going to have to redo the trainee tunnel. We're going to have to set the firewall back. You know, we're going to have to do all this stuff to the floor anyways. So why have it in our way, right? So we're going to build this tube chassis, and then we'll just do all the sheet metal work ourselves. Let's see, let's scan over the car right quick. I mean, really, it just saved us so much work having him do this deal.
Probably took it a quarter of the time too.
You know, previously, all down in here, this stuff you can't really get to treat for rust. It was all rusted out underneath this dash skin. You know, like you take the dashboard off, all underneath here was all rusted out. A lot of the roof railing was all rusted out. There just wasn't much left to use there. Oh, about fell off the table. You know, the rockers and stuff were pretty bad on it, all that stuff. But like up in here, up in the cell panel on the inside of all that, you know, it was just rust that you would never be able to get out in there. You know, you would just never be able to really get up in between those and treat them the right way to where we wouldn't have any rust issues. Another cool thing about having the body built is you can kind of customize it to things you want. Like this car was not a factory air car, but I had them put the dash in it for the factory air, so we can go with the vintage air and stuff in here. So I'm pretty excited because we got a fresh start right here. What do you think, son?
I'm excited.
He's pumped about it because no longer does it look like an old rusty piece of crap that I promised him we would build. We actually got something to look at now. So I'll go over some of the plans, and Xander can chime in here too and tell us what he's thinking. Basically, here's what we're doing. We're going to build a chassis similar to my C10 chassis, mostly because I want all the parts and stuff interchangeable with my blue truck over there. So I want to kind of design it on the same platform. Plus, I've already tested the blue truck and I know what it does. So we're going to do a full round tube chassis just like this one. By the way, this is the same chassis that's under my truck. Yeah. So I like the chassis design and everything, but the mild steel, it's just heavy. And me having a racing background, the heavy stuff, I just can't get over it. So whenever I built the chassis for the blue truck, I built it out of chromoly. Only issue with chromoly is you got to worry about the stress and fatigue because of how rigid chromoly is. So it's super strong, it's super lightweight, but there's a chance you could have, you know, cracking and stuff like around the welds or something like that later down the road. Now I've talked to a lot of drag week guys and a lot of drag and drive guys, and they're not really having issues with that, but this is a car that is not ever going to leave our family. I mean, that's what I told Xander. It's his to have, it's not his to sell. Okay, so we got that on camera. It's yours to have, not to sell. All right, so that was the deal my dad made me. I never sold it, all right? So anyways, so I want a chassis that's gonna last him forever, and we're not gonna end up having fatigue cracks and stuff like that. So, so that's how we got to looking into the Docal R8 material, and it turns out it's like 15% stronger than chromoly, but it doesn't have the same hardness to where it's like, where it gets fragile and kind of can crack, stress crack and stuff. It doesn't do that. Just the tubing was really developed for the motorsports industry, and it's kind of the best of both worlds between mild steel and chromoly. You know, it's stronger than both of them, but it's not going to stress crack and things like chromoly. You can also MIG weld it, but we won't do that. We'll TIG weld it, you know, just because we can. But anyways, here's basically a good blueprint of what we're going to do with the Camaro. So, you know, building the headers, the exhaust, everything just like this. So tubular A-arms, coilovers, complete round tube chassis. We're going to do the quadrulated 4-link, just like I do on my trucks here, where it's got the shorter triangulated top bars, the longer lower bars. We're going to do the same Ford 9-inch housing. We build these in-house. Same coilovers on the back. We're doing a similar tank, but it's a little bit wider. So he'll actually be like 22 or so gallons on the tank. Because that's like one regret on my truck. I wish the tank was bigger. I think it's like 19 gallons, and I kind of wish I had a few more gallons. We've already figured out some stuff with the exhaust. I use these Spintech 6000 series mufflers. I love the way that they sound, and they don't have no resonation or nothing in them. So basically, this is pretty much the platform we're going with. We run a 270 gear, the PST drive shaft. It's all going to be the same as this. We're going to build our own radiator just like we did on this one. That's crazy. That's crazy. We're going to build it the way that I always wanted to. Of course, with some help from him. I mean, it's going to be the way you want it to. You're going to have some say-so, but I'm just saying, I was never able to afford to do all the really cool stuff. We've already got some brakes for it. We got some Wilwood brakes. We've already got a lot of parts. We've been collecting them for a little bit. We got a rack. We got the mufflers. We got some header stuff. We got us a core to start building the radiator out of.
Microphones up there?
Got some weather stripping. When we do the exhaust, I got some other stuff in here. Here's a new Holley oil pan for it. I got some stuff I've been collecting here, some megaphones for the exhaust and collectors. We got some billet flanges in there. Yeah, that's the replacement Holley pan. The first one we ordered came all scratched up. So when we change the heads and stuff on the engine, we'll put that valve covers on there, or sorry, we'll put the oil pan on there. It's gonna be badass. You guys ought to stick around, and we're gonna video this entire build start to finish. And you'll get to see me and my son build the chassis, do some crazy sheet metal work. You know, we're probably gonna build a custom spoiler for it, flush mount the glass. We're gonna do all kinds of stuff, guys. It's gonna have a roll cage in it. We're gonna do the headers, the exhaust. I mean, we're gonna be doing, this complete car is gonna be built in-house right here at Modern C10. Stay tuned and enjoy the ride with us. Thanks for watching.